This is Queer Cinema Catchup's video essay series, and today I'll be explaining how the first season of the HBO television series, The Last of Us, uses queer love stories to suggest something important about love as a universal concept. Unlike many great stories, The Last of Us doesn't contend that love conquers all. In fact, it often argues the very opposite in showing us just how depraved humans can get in the name of, or as a result of, love. In balancing these acts of atrocity against the moving yet opposite queer love stories featured in Episode 3 and Episode 7 of Season 1, this series seems to posit that love is just what we humans do. Whatever the circumstances, whoever we are, whomever we are attracted to. In other words, its expression might shift, but it remains necessary to our lives. Often beautiful in that necessity, occasionally terrifying, always powerful, but rarely successful in accomplishing what we need from it the most: survival. I haven't played the first The Last of Us video game, but I've heard it ends almost identically to the TV series, with a bit of an exception. As TV viewers, we watch Joel learn that he's brought Ellie all this way for a surgery that may find a cure to the cordyceps zombie-like infection, but it will happen at the expense of her life. We then see him make the choice to raise every person in the building to rescue Ellie, even though it is very likely against her wishes and sense of meaning and purpose. He does this because he loves her. In the video game, there's more of a choice, or so I've heard, but it's not the one we might think. No matter what in the gameplay, Joel will rescue Ellie, but he'll either raise everyone in his path, as he does in the TV adaptation, or he will take a more covert path with less bloodshed to save her. The choice is the player's because the player is Joel, and that player gets to decide how much death is justified by Joel or the player's love for Ellie. It's interesting to me that there is no choice to leave Ellie to her fate. His love and the result that will follow is a given in both the game and the TV show. It's almost as if both narratives want us to see that love motivates us. But just because love is beautiful does not mean that the consequences of the actions it inspires are beautiful or even moral. Joel's choice might be somewhat gray, an almost too perfect ethics question that we can enjoy debating. Do you kill or allow the killing of your one specific beloved for the sake of humanity? Or do you kill to save her? And should you, if that beloved would want to sacrifice herself? But The Last of Us doesn't shy away from defining love as a monstrous motivator elsewhere in its first season. In Episode 4, we're introduced to Kathleen, the leader of the Kansas City resistance to the military-run Fedra, who is apparently hunting a man named Henry, a man that our protagonists, Joel and Ellie, accidentally encounter. They learn that Henry betrayed Kathleen's brother to Fedra, resulting in his death, in order to obtain medication for his own little brother Sam, a child who has leukemia. Henry harmed to save the one he loves, just as Kathleen intends to kill to avenge the one she loves. Perhaps this too is a bit gray. Something we can disavow but understand. Henry wasn't so at fault, he was helping a child, his brother. Kathleen perhaps was more at fault, but someone was taken from her. She's in pain. We can recognize the human in these actions even if they are crimes we ourselves wouldn't commit. Not even out of love. Right? Still, The Last of Us pushes the idea even further in Episode 8, When We Are in Need, where Ellie is kidnapped by a group led by a man we're meant to see as a monster, David. Episode quickly reminds us about the show's stance on love, when Ellie first encounters two men of this group while out searching for food for her and a seriously injured Joel. First, these men who will eventually kidnap Ellie seem like helpful strangers who have the penicillin Joel needs to survive. They then slowly reveal a man in their own camp has passed away at the hands of, quote, a crazy man traveling with a little girl, suddenly revealing that these men have posed as safe people only to trick and try to abduct Ellie, but they've done so because they believe she and Joel have harmed their own people. Second, they then up the stakes by showing us for the first time the true dark lengths Joel will go to save Ellie. Ellie escapes and goes back to a sick Joel, only to have to flee and try to draw the men away when the men come back looking for Joel. Some of them kidnap Ellie, while others find Joel. Though weak, Joel revives himself for the sole purpose of torturing the kidnappers to find out Ellie's whereabouts and then kills them for good measure. David, however, brings us to a whole other level of the monstrous side of love. David not only locks Ellie in a cage and seems to be sexually interested in her, which is predatory as she is a child and his captive, but he has also, we learn, as the leader of his group, begun feeding his people the flesh of their deceased members as food has grown scarce without their knowledge. Ellie's horrified, but can see the survival logic behind this choice. Something David perhaps senses, prompting him to say, quote, you have a violent heart, and I should know. He goes on to say that cordyceps aren't evil. Quote, it's fruitful, it multiplies, it feeds and protects its children, and it secures its future with violence if it must. It loves. a definition of the Last of Us version of zombies that can also serve as a depressing metaphor for love in the game, the show, and our own The Planet is on Fire world. In David's mind, David and Ellie's hearts are violent, but it seems like the show might be making the case that the human heart in general is violent. After all, Joel races back ready to murder to save Ellie, though she's already saved herself. And yet his words of love as he pulls her away from the horror and toward the only safety they really have, one another, "It's okay, baby girl, I got you," are so sweet. How can we reconcile that gentler version of love with the monstrous ones driving our characters' actions? Well, there is a point of contrast in The Last of Us's violent love, and it comes in the form of the show's queer couples. Most famously, the first season centered an entire episode, episode 3, Long, Long Time, around Bill and Frank's many, many years together. The episode details a love that sparks and endures in the face of the apocalypse, concluding when, for reasons that have nothing to do with cordyceps, an elderly and ill Frank asks Bill to help him die, and they end up marrying one another and committing suicide together, because, as Bill says in his last note to Joel, protecting and living with Frank has given his own previously misanthropic life meaning. In other words, for Bill, and presumably for Frank, there is no meaning in life without one another. It's beautiful, heartbreaking, heart-stirring, the best kind of love story that just so happens to be queer. The exact opposite, but no less meaningful love story that just so happens to be queer plays out some 4 episodes later when we finally learn a bit more about Ellie's backstory before she and Joel cross paths. We meet Ellie while she's in a Fedra boarding school, resistant to authority and wondering where her best friend Riley has gone. When Riley shows up and takes Ellie to an abandoned mall, Ellie is delighted, then angry when she finds out Riley has joined the Rebel Fireflies and plans to move to Atlanta to assist their efforts. We suspect Ellie might have a crush on Riley, which is ultimately confirmed when Ellie begs Riley not to leave and then kisses Riley after she agrees to stay. Their exchange post-kiss, Ellie says, "I'm sorry," Riley says, "Sorry for what?" is a lovely moment of queer coming-of-age representation. But it is set against the backdrop of a world overrun with zombies. So the tragic inevitably intervenes. Both girls are bit, which is important for the plot, as we know Ellie will survive and realize she has immunity, which is why the Fireflies wanted her transported, which is why she's with Joel in the first place. But in this moment, Ellie doesn't know she's immune. Both girls believe they will turn. In a reverse to Bill and Frank, Ellie and Riley decide to suck up as much life and love as they have in whatever little time remains to them. The very opposite of a long, long time. They, like Bill and Frank, find meaning in life because of love and make the opposite choice. To live fully together, even if it's for mere seconds, and that is no less beautiful, heartbreaking, heart-stirring, the very best kind of love story that just so happens to be queer. It seems absolutely intentional that the writers of The Last of Us crafted these episodes as 2 sides of the same gay coin. The question is why? Did they just like the literary symmetry of it all? Perhaps, but I think it goes back to the definition of love baked into the fabric of the show. A kind of thesis statement we can embrace or discredit, but that is the truth, at least in the world of this narrative. Quite simply, love isn't good or bad. It isn't what will save us, but it is, if we had to choose a single word for its definition, human. We'll kill for love, sacrifice our own lives for it, believe in its meaning, even when we are in the end times or our own personal end of times, face to face with the fact that it might all end in and be for nothing. That The Last of Us decided to showcase the noblest, gentlest, most life-affirming version of love via 2 separate queer couples further solidifies it stands for me, because it is taking those who are outside mainstream, quote-unquote mainstream norms, and saying, here is love too. The kind we most want to believe in and hope for, the sort that makes us cry and ache, found in people who very likely are different from the majority of the audience watching this show. Viewers who statistically probably don't share these characters' sexual orientations. Love is not good or bad, but has the capacity to inspire actions that are either good or bad. Love is human. That is what The Last of Us is trying to tell us. Or, so say I. What say you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and please check out the other videos on Queer Cinema Catchup. We have TV recaps, longer form movie podcast episodes, and more. If you like what you see, please subscribe, and thanks so much for listening. Bye.